So after I cleaned out my fishing bag, it's given me a really good opportunity to see what I need to replace in my fly box. Now, early season, I'm going to be fishing a lot of nymphs and streamers, so that's exactly what I'm going to tie. I've got a few of them up here that I've tied previously. I'm going to twist some up now. First up for me with nymphs, I like to keep nymphs fairly simple. I lose a lot of them. Spending half an hour on a nymph that you're going to lose in 2 seconds isn't really worth it in my opinion. Keeping them nice and simple but still really effective. Now, the biggest thing for me with tying nymphs is just having a wide range of sizes and weights. As far as colours and profiles and exact patterns, I keep them fairly similar. Having one or two patterns that you're really familiar with, and it's repeatable and quick to tie in both a bright fly, sort of more of an attractor style nymph, and a dull, more natural fly. Having a good range of both those sort of styles of flies is really important for me. So first up, I'm tying some pink tags. One thing I do with my pink tags is I've just got a pink bit of backing that you'd put on your fly reel. I find that works pretty well for me, as you can see here. That's super cheap. You can buy it in bulk and it's really good for tags. You can get a lot of different colours too. Pink, chartreuse, orange, whatever you want. So as far as weights for what I'm tying here on my nymphs, I'm going fairly heavy. As we come out of winter and early season, we've got a lot of snow runoff, and specifically in my case on the Tumut, it's nice and high. So relatively heavy beaded nymphs are going to work well for me early season. So that's what I'm going to tie. Same thing with my streamers that I'm going to do a bit later on. Having a heavier bead to get down in our high flows, especially in not only in the Tumut but also in the high country, snow runoff, and fish that have just come out of the spawn run and are still a bit fired up. Getting down to them with a bit more weight is the key. So that's the first one. Little size 14 pink tag, 3.5mm bead. Can't go wrong. Now, next one I'm going to do, still with nymphs, I'm going to do a slightly smaller bead. That fly will be great on the Tumut and in high flows where the fish want a nice bright pink attractor style fly. Next, I'm going to tie a very similar pattern, just a little bit more natural colours and a little lighter. So again, fishing in the high country, step down from a 3.5 to a 3mm bead now. And this is going to be sort of your traditional hare's ear. And again, as you probably saw in that pink tag, super simple, literally just tag, dub body, done. That's all I do. That's all you need. A profile, correct weight, and actually fishing it and working the flies properly is far more important, I find, than having one extra wrap of this or an extra material here and there. Get a good general impression of a fly and then focus on your fishing. Now, as far as specific patterns and specific materials go, I'm not going to go too much in depth in that right now. Substitute out materials, use what you have. I would usually use pheasant tail here, forgot it today, so I've got a Hungarian partridge. Probably a very fancy substitute, but it's what I've got, so I'm going to use that for tail material. Now, coming up, we're going to go through a lot more fly tying in the next few videos, so let us know what you want to see, but we'll go in depth in specifics of fly tying a bit later on. Now again, very similar steps in this fly, just again, changing those colours up, sizing down that bead. Now you're probably thinking, why am I not going to tie any dry flies? I've got a pretty good bank of dry flies from the end of last season. Didn't use them right up till the end, and I'm probably not going to be fishing a lot of them straight off the bat. You might do it on the odd occasion if you get a warm day, but patterns that I tie for early season are generally specific for the first week or two of the season, what I know I'm going to be fishing. And then from there, as the season starts, whether we get hot weather or cold weather, or depending on where I'm fishing, I can obviously tie accordingly. But for now, I'm not going to waste my time on dry flies and tie those a bit later on when summer kicks in. So again, simple hare's ear, just whip there. 2 whip finishes, nice and strong. And if I hold these 2 flies next to each other, you can see very similar in profile. All I've done really is change the materials out. I've got more of a bright tag and a heavier bead on this one here that'll be really good for tailwaters and the tumut and that sort of thing. High country, still the tumut and more natural fly in that hare's ear. So pretty much exact same profile, just changing colours and size of bead. That's how I roll. Now vary your weights, bead size, hook size, and tie a squillion more nymphs because you will be losing them almost guaranteed. Now I'm going to move on to some streamers. Quick tip for threading your bobbin. You can use a bobbin threader if you want, but poke the end of that in there, suck on the end, pull it right through. They probably have taught everyone that. Anyway, switching up to some streamers now. Bigger hook size. I've got a 4mm bead in here. I'm trying to imitate this sort of streamer that's been working really well for us recently. Small jig style streamer, super simple. It's just got a marabou tail, a fairly flashy body and some rubber legs. I'm gonna skip the rubber legs and vary up the flash a little bit. That's what I'm sort of going for. Kind of like these ones I got in the front here. So marabou. Let's make that feather a little easier to deal with. With streamers, it's all about profile, I find. Having a lot of different profiles and colors over, again, exact wraps and whether it's got one stranded crystal flash or two. Don't worry about all that stuff, or at least I don't. All I focus on is shape and profile and how it's gonna actually swim in the water. A lot of tyres do hook lengths. I'm just gonna guesstimate and say it's about that long. Yeah, looks good to me. Cinch that down. Also, building a lot of durability into your flies I feel like is really important. A lot of people skip over that sort of step. If your fly can look as good as it wants, but if it's not durable and it's not going to hold up to, you know, cast after cast, hitting on rocks and things, forget about it. So really setting those materials properly, good solid wraps. I run 2 whip finishes usually on mine. Everyone's different. Using head cement as well, UV resins and that sort of thing. Another really good way to add some durability. Now I'm just going to loosely dub this sort of straggly, synthetic, what is this? Scud dub. Really loosely dubbed. Again, all about that profile that I was talking about before. If I dub this fairly loosely and then pick it out with a bodkin afterwards, it's going to give a really nice sort of buggy profile. A little bit more. Very loose that we can pick out in a second. Now I've switched over to orange thread. It's a fairly dull streamer. So building up a bit more of a hot spot in that head just gives a little bit of kick, bit of fish pulling power, bit of zhuzh. Cut that. Now I don't think I have a pick. I'll just use the end of my whip finish tool. Just pick that out like that. I realistically should have been doing this over the 3 months I had in winter, but I don't know what to tell you. So there we go. Obviously that marabou is going to fluff up as soon as that dries out, but simple streamer, not very flashy, nice dull little, simple little woolly bugger variation. Similar train of thought to that nymph. That's a more dull streamer. Similar colour and olive the whole way through. I'm going to add a little bit more flash and life to this next one. I'm not going to wet this one just so you guys can see how nice and flowy this marabou is. This is the new Fulling Mill stuff that we've got in the shop. Got a small range at the moment, but we're going to be expanding this soon, so come and check it out. Also, while you're checking out Tom's Outdoors, why don't you subscribe to this YouTube channel? That was real subtle, Pat. Right. So again, shorten that up just a smidgen. Now, that marabou feather is the exact same in this fly, and you can see when it's not wet how nice and flowy and how much movement that's going to have when it's in the water and wet. And that's all I'm talking about with that profile and having heaps of movement. stripping it fast, that's going to pulse and look like it's swimming away. Now in this one, I'm going to build up a little bit bigger of an underbody with this orange thread. And the reason I'm going to do that is the next step is using what we call streamer straggle, or this sort of corded chenille, to wrap a body. And it's really nice and flashy. And the reason I build up that orange underbody is, and I'm going to leave a little bit of breathing room in these wraps here, you'll see in a minute. And that orange is just going to show through and give it sort of the look of like gills almost, on a bait fish, or yeah, just give it a bit more colour, bit of pop, bit of extra sauce. So again, nice orange underbody. I'm going to leave that on the card so I don't waste too much of it. And each wrap, I'm just going to pull that back, get it to lay back. Less is more with flash. I find this is a very, very flashy material. And if I wrap it as tight as I did with a dubbing body, it's just going to be too much. So be sparse with it. That marabou tail's got plenty of motion, and this flash is going to be more than enough once it's in the water. So tie that off, snip, pull all that back, clean up the head of that fly. Again, build up your hotspot collar. And you can see how sparse that is, how sparse I wrap that, but it still envelops that marabou and makes a nice flashy body. Again, double whip finish. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Finish that off, bang. Fluff that up, make sure all those flash fibres are not getting stuck under themselves. And between the two streamers here, again, same size bead. We've just got one that's more flashy and one that's more dull. Obviously these are both in olive. I'd do black, I'd do white, I'd do natural, tan, vary it up, and there's your streamers. So there we go, there's a few flies. Obviously you can go way more in depth, and I probably should have been doing that in the last 3 months of winter, but take that as a little bit of a guide on what I'd run early season, in my case on the Tumut, and as a guide, and yeah, tie some flies.